I just want to tell some of these brands. It's not me, it's you. So I do a pretty regular series on my channel called Makeup Products That Have Been Dethroned. I've been doing it for years, and I thought it would be fun to do one kind of specifically focused on brands, because when I did my last, it was a beauty battle and products that have been dethroned, I feel like I'm noticing when I do those videos, there's more and more brands that keep popping up of like, oh, this product from this brand has dethroned, you know, this favorite from so many years. And in some of my videos recently, I feel like I've been flashing back on like the old school YouTube days. I started my channel in 2015. So it's just been really interesting to see how just the industry has changed, the community has changed, the brands have changed, and all of that. And I feel like there's some brands that have kept up really well over the years, and I feel like there's some brands that haven't. I feel like there's some brands that definitely had a rise in popularity because of social media and influencer marketing and all of that. But then they've also kind of trended down as well. And I just thought it would be a fun one to sit and chill and talk about some of these brands, get your opinions as well. What do you agree with that I have said, and what do you disagree with? So make sure to leave your feedback in the comments. But I do like to start my videos with an outfit of the day, and I'm so excited because my dog is filming with me today. I think she's laying on it now, but she actually went and found her first ever collar. Like, can you even? Can you even? So this has been her new toy. So I'm just gonna put it back. I'm just gonna put it back next to her. But I'm just wearing this little set. Honestly, I don't know where I got it because I got it so long ago. And then my sandals are from Amazon. But I actually just had a little event at a coffee shop this morning. So I went and checked out a new coffee shop that just opened in Las Vegas. And then I got home and I was like, I've been working on this video for a while now and making my list of different brands and everything, and I thought, why not just sit down and film it? So I'll link anything that I can down below if there's any specific products that I mentioned. I'll also link any of the makeup that I'm wearing. But it's funny too, because even a lot of the products that I have on my face today are from brands that I'm mentioning as kind of like the new players, like the new darling brands, if you will. One thing that I want to say, and one thing that I feel like I stress on in my videos, and I have for many, many years, is I am very aware that what is popular and what is trending in the online beauty community space, those who watch YouTube regularly, those who are on Instagram looking for the new products, TikTok looking for the best products, I do not think that always translates over into the huge demographic, the huge amount of consumers that are not in the online beauty community space but still purchase makeup on a regular basis. And I was talking about this in a video recently too, which kind of sparked the idea to do just a full brands dethroned instead of specific products. And I was saying that even though it might seem like there are some brands, even, you know, brands like the Maybelline or the CoverGirl or the Revlon, some of those kind of pillar brands that have been around for so long, even though they might not seem like they're doing the best on social media and they don't have the flashiest marketing, they don't work with the biggest influencers, they don't do these brand trips that we see online, I don't necessarily feel like it means every brand is in danger. You know, I did a video on dead beauty brands and who will be like the next dead beauty brands and things like that. But there's a lot of brands that I still think are successful because of that non-online beauty community consumerism that is still keeping them going, because I think there are a lot of people that are not looking for the new. There are a lot of people that are not wanting the hottest new release, the best new lipstick, the best new mascara. They want their tried and true makeup products. And so I think a lot of brands still do really well, even though you might look at their Instagram or their social media and think, oh, they are not going anywhere, but they are actually doing really well. So I just wanted to point that out in the beginning because it's something that I do try to stress in a lot of my videos, and it's something that I try to remember myself, because sometimes I can fall into it and be like, oh, nobody uses this brand, and I'm like, that's not true. I think there's probably a lot of people that do, because they've been using that mascara for 10 years and they know it's good, and when they get done with a product, they just want that same product again. There's a lot of people, again, that are not trying to always chase after that new. But for this video, for this intent and purposes, I am going to be mostly focusing on the online beauty community and social media, because that is the space that I am in, and if you're watching this, it's probably the space that you are in. I have to say, one of the first brands that popped into my mind when I was thinking about brands dethroned was Too Faced. Now, I still think Too Faced, I mean, they still continually release products, but there was definitely a time where they were like such an it brand. They were such like, again, a darling brand of social media. They had such cute releases. They had like the cheeky names. They were sending out PR packages with like roller skates in them. They were sending influencers to their headquarters in, I think it was Los Angeles, and everything was just like so cute and pink and Instagrammable. And I was like, I emailed Too Faced and was like, I would love to come sometime. Like, I live in Iowa. This was prior, but I live in Iowa, but like I would love to come sometime. I never got an invite, that's fine. But I really do feel like they were such a hot brand for a while, and I feel like they've definitely kind of fallen off in the last few years. And I don't think they're like a dead beauty brand by any means, but their like time to shine, I just don't feel like we get that as much from Too Faced. And again, they're still coming out with new releases. I just spoke about like a mascara primer that they released in my last new makeup releases video that I posted last week. So they're still around, they're still doing things, but that like craze, like I was going out and immediately trying to buy the new Too Faced releases, whether it was their lipstick collection, whether it was their palettes. One of my first videos that like really took off on YouTube was their like the mini chocolate chip palette or something like that, because so many people were curious about their products. It was like, if I can run out to Sephora as fast as I can and get this video up online, like people are gonna watch it, they're gonna be interested, they wanna know what it's about, they wanna know if it's good or bad. And I feel like a lot of beauty influencers at the time really thought that. So it's funny because sometimes too, I think about how much influencers, YouTubers, content creators, how much money we spend on products as well. Like if you're not getting something in PR and you're going out and you're buying full collections and you're paying for rush shipping and all of that, like it makes me wonder like what the numbers would be like to see, because especially a few years ago when getting those videos up that was just on one eyeshadow palette or just on one lip collection or things like that, those videos were so popular, they were so high in views. And it felt, I don't want to say like a competition, but sometimes it really did. It felt like who can get it up the absolute fastest. I remember talking to a few friends in the YouTube space and they were like, even if I get a palette right away and I rush the shipping to get it, if by the time I am done and you know the palette comes, you drop everything. Doesn't matter what your day looks like, doesn't matter if you had plans, doesn't matter if you had a birthday party, you drop everything, you get down, you film that video, you edit it, you get it up on YouTube. And they would say, if by the time I got my video, I got it edited and I went to get it up, if there was already 3 or more videos up about that palette, I won't put it up because it won't be able to compete with the views. Like those videos have already taken off. They're just gonna keep taking off in the algorithm. So I'm not even gonna bother to put it up. And I was like, oh, wow. Like I didn't realize how, you know, of course that's not everybody, it wasn't me, but I didn't realize until that time when people would start to tell me that I was like, there's a lot more to the business side of making makeup YouTube videos. Like I need to think more strategically as well. I had no idea that people had this kind of plan in place for when these new releases came out. But I remember Too Faced being one of those that it was like, if you could get those videos up really quick, you would get a lot of views, which would bring in more subscribers, which would give you more opportunities in the space. I want to touch on another brand too that I think has moved its way out of its like time to shine, and that's Anastasia Beverly Hills. And I still like a lot of products from Anastasia. I'm actually wearing a little bit of the Sultry palette on my eyes today, like for my lower lash line. And I just mentioned the Sultry palette in my top 5 glam eyeshadow palettes, and I mentioned the Sultry like in several of my eyeshadow palette videos because this is my favorite palette from Anastasia. But it's crazy to me, and someone mentioned this in my comments in that video, of like, this was a limited edition palette, but it's extremely popular. And they said, their comment was, Anastasia is definitely not in its heyday like it once was. Why would they not bring back the Sultry? I feel like it would be a good seller for them. And I'm like, I think that you're absolutely right. But I really had to mention Anastasia because again, this was just one of those brands. And again, this video is focused on social media, is focused on the beauty community. But there was a time where when a palette came out from Anastasia, you needed to get that video up real quick. And of course, I'm also coming at the side of a beauty YouTuber that's been doing this for a long time. But I would love to know in the comments as a viewer, like, when a new palette was releasing, were you also, like the videos that you were first watching on YouTube, were you watching those specific palette videos? Did you have, you know, one of your favorites that you were like, we're really similar when it comes to makeup styles, preferences, the way we do our makeup, whatever it may be. I really want to see if she puts out or he puts out a video on this palette, because that will help me make a decision. I would really like to know that, if you kind of felt that way as well when it came to new releases, because again, knowing myself and knowing all of the content creators that I've talked to over the years, the pressure that we felt to get videos up as quickly as we could. I talked in videos about like being late to things, being late to ball games, being late to concerts, being late to birthday parties. The very first video I ever put up on YouTube, I was like super late to my friend's like housewarming party, and I was like, I was trying to start this YouTube channel, okay? Like I was busy. The video I talked about like considering canceling plans, like going to the movies with my friends because a Colourpop palette or Colourpop lipstick package just came in, and I was like, no, I have to film with it right now. You don't understand. Like I'm trying to make this a career. Like the hustle that has gone into making this a full-time career. I know for a lot of people, especially a lot of YouTubers that have been doing this consistently for so long, there was a lot of hard work and tears and sweat and learning editing and just all of those things that have gone into it. But the Anastasia palettes, I mean, Modern Renaissance like took over everything. Everyone was talking about the Modern Renaissance, and so when the next palette came out, which I think maybe was the Soft Glam, everyone was clamoring to get to the soft glam. And then when Subculture came out, of course that really like shook everyone to its core, because everyone was so excited, you know, we're running out trying to get the Subculture, and then it's Subculture gate of like, is this a different formula? I do feel like there was that moment where Anastasia was just like queen of the online beauty community. And again, I still feel like it's a popular brand, but I don't think it's what it used to be. I think when palettes released, I don't hear as much buzz about them. But also another point that I wanted to bring up in this video too is kind of that whole like, is the beauty community dead? Why are beauty videos maybe not as popular? Why are more and more beauty creators either stepping away from, especially YouTube as a platform, or why are they stepping away from beauty? Why are they doing more fashion or lifestyle or cooking or cleaning or candles or fragrance or books? Because you can see it like in the views, you can see it in now, like if you were to do a video on one eyeshadow palette, that's not gonna hit the same as it would in like 2016. And so as a content creator, you're always trying to keep up with like when the times are changing. But I think there's a lot of unease right now, especially from my friends that I talk to. There's a lot of unease of like, we kind of feel like we don't know. Like we're a little bit unsure of like what people want to see. Do they want to continue to see beauty? What kind of videos do they want to see? And for me, I've always loved just chatty style videos. That was how my, like that was what I wanted my channel to be about. I feel like doing these kind of videos is so fun for me again, and it's why I want to keep doing them, and it kind of reminds me of starting my channel back in the day. Again, thinking about like the Anastasia palettes, like if she were to release a new palette, I don't really feel like I see so many videos in my feed of like this new Anastasia palette, swatching it, 3 looks with it. I also just kind of feel like that time has gone as well. I don't know if it's potentially like pandemic related, and a lot of things changed for people, a lot of things changed financially for people, and even just emotionally and all of that. Like obviously it was so huge for literally everybody, and even in today's climate, we talk about recession and what's happening. Maybe our beauty videos not as popular because of that. I don't know. Again, would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. But moving over to, I want to touch on a couple of brands that I think are rising in popularity. So one that I put on my list was LYS Beauty. This is not necessarily a brand that I think is like an it brand right now, or like a darling brand of the beauty community, but I think the brand is definitely on the rise. When they released, I feel like they kind of made a little bit of a splash because they were at Sephora, but they didn't have as high of a price point as some of the other brands that are in Sephora. So it was like, oh, you can get this concealer for $19 instead of $40. How exciting. Like I think that was a reason why LYS was popular when they first came out, but they also have really nice products. Like I do mention the concealer. I have it on today. I am almost out. Like I'm scraping the sides of that concealer. They just launched a new mascara, which I think is really pretty. They are still a little bit of a newer brand, but they are, you know, kind of continually coming out with some products. They just released a setting spray. They just released like a pink detox mask. And I think that they are one to watch. Like I think that they are a brand on the rise. So I'd love to know also like what brands you think are like the up and coming, like the next in line to be the it brand. Another brand that I wanted to mention as on the rise is BK Beauty. So BK Beauty is a brand that was started by Lisa J, and she is a makeup artist and she has been a YouTuber and content creator for many years. And they launched 4 years ago. They just had their brand anniversary sale. I'm just very impressed by the way the brand is run. It from the get was just very professional, from the website to the products to the packaging to their marketing. I can see them continually expanding and growing and being quite successful in the beauty community space. I mean, I use their brushes all the time. I literally use this brush every single day. It's the 105. It's what I use to apply my powder all over my face, and I love it. They have great eye brushes. They have dabbled in other products as well, like an eyeshadow palette. They have lip products. They just launched new shades of lip products. They've done collaborations with other YouTubers, like Angie Hot and Flashy has a great brush collection with BK Beauty. They've also done a collab with Risa Does Makeup for lashes, which are really beautiful. And again, this is another brand that I don't know if I would necessarily say is like the it brand right now, but are definitely on the rise. Another creator-led brand that I again would say is on the rise would be One Size, and this is a Patrick Starr's makeup brand. This is another brand that I just think is really well done, well marketed, you know, from packaging to all those little details. And I think, and it probably helps having a brand created by an influencer, because they can kind of understand something like influencer marketing and how to take advantage of that. And I think One Size does a really good job of keeping up with you know, relevant content creators and getting the products in the hands of them. I see the One Size setting spray everywhere right now. Like everyone's talking about it. I see a lot of like funny like TikToks using that spray, and also just a lot of organic placement with the One Size product. I know I recently got the mascara, and I love that mascara. I've been raving about it in a lot of my past videos. But again, I think the brand is on the rise. It's also in Sephora, which is a huge deal, and it has stayed in Sephora. We have seen some other influencer brands come out and go into Sephora or Ulta and then not anymore. A lot to be able to get into a retailer and stay into a retailer. It is very expensive to do something like that. I know that there are a lot of, you know, numbers that have to be hit time and time and time again. There's obviously royalties that get paid. I don't know if it's considered royalties, but coming from authorland, I say royalties, but there's money that obviously then goes to those retailers that the brand is not seeing, that it's like, would it make more sense if it was a D2C, a direct to consumer brand? So there's a lot that goes into it. So for One Size to continue to stay at Sephora is something that kind of like set off a little bell in my mind. Like, I think that this brand is going to continue to expand and grow and do a really good job. So that's why I put them in my on the rise category. Going back to a few brands that I feel like have kind of declined and are, you know, not at their height anymore. I obviously had to touch on like Morphe and BH Cosmetics. These, like Morphe especially, I mean, you couldn't go anywhere without someone talking about Morphe. And I do think that they did a good job of getting out of just the beauty community space, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but going over into more like mainstream as well, especially going into Ulta Beauty. And their displays at Ulta were huge. Like, you couldn't walk into an Ulta without seeing a huge display of Morphe products. They started to have Morphe stores in like malls, and I feel like that really helped, because I would start to, again, you know, only hear about Morphe from the beauty community, but then when I would talk to my friends who don't watch YouTube videos or have Instagram or follow makeup artists or things like that, they would start to say, oh, I'm gonna get this Morphe brush or this Morphe palette. Obviously they did collaborations with really huge content creators like Jaclyn Hill. They this was one of the brands that I feel like were very early on with influencer marketing and giving out codes. So many people were a Morphe babe. I wanted to be a Morphe babe. I wanted my Morphe code. I was buying and using the products. I was doing videos on just the Morphe 350 palette and just the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palettes. You know, that was a palette that I dropped everything. I dropped everything. And I remember I think it was the first Morphe and Jaclyn Hill palette. It ended up like you had to sign for it. It wasn't home. So I had a thing on my door that was like, it's been taken to FedEx. Like, we'll either try again tomorrow or you can come to FedEx and pick it up. And I had like 40 minutes to drive 20 minutes away from me to go get this package. And I was like, get in the car. Like, I have to do this right now. I have to go get this package. Like, everything got dropped, so I could have gone to get my Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette, so I could immediately get home, film, do the swatches, do the close-ups, do the looks, edit the video, get it up there, like bam, bam, bam. I hear creators say like, I still get something in the mail and I want to get it up right away, and I guess I just don't feel that way anymore. And maybe that's my own experience of like things changing with beauty and things changing within this career and that sort of thing. But I no longer feel this such intense pressure to get videos up ASAP, to get those new products up ASAP. I think it'll be really interesting to get creator feedback as well on this video too, because I just think so much has changed in the last several years. And at the same time, a lot of things have stayed the same. They were still trying, and then they kind of switched their focus to collaborating with more like TikTokers and more of the Gen Z space, which smart marketing idea. You know, a lot of the Gen Z age was getting on TikTok, and especially in 2020, and they want the products as well, and they want the collaborations. And you know, a lot of these TikTokers that became very popular and that are quite young have millions and millions of followers. I remember when I finally got on TikTok and I was like, who are these like same 4 teenagers that I keep seeing all over like my For You page? And I would go and look and I was like, 12 million followers? Like who, what, huh? Like, I have been busting my butt for over a decade in this space, and some people get on TikTok and suddenly they have these millions of views and are living this crazy insane life. And it like, I mean, it really like, I don't know if I'm gonna say like took me down a peg, but I was like, what if I worked for, like, how did I not strategically do my job or my career correctly? Like, what could I be doing differently? Because how are these people like having this kind of success when it comes to this? And I don't know, it's something that I think about probably more than I should, and I try very hard not to feel like I have failed in this space. But I just try to remind myself that it's just different and times change. ABH Cosmetics, again, they collaborated with a lot of popular content creators, and I'm thinking like Carly Bible. Like, I was rushing out to get those palettes as well. I was rushing out to do those videos as well. And you know, they've declared bankruptcy. And it's just interesting to see, again, the brands that were just so popular and everyone was talking about them, and like those big brush bundles. Like, I was so excited for those brush bundles, okay? But not so much anymore. Now, I did put MAC on my list, and MAC is one of those brands that I do consider that fall under, maybe they aren't the most popular on social media, but they have a very loyal and long-standing customer base. And also, one thing that I will say is when I am out, especially with like a group of girls, every single night I will see at least one girl pull out a MAC lipstick. At least last night I was out with one of my friends and boom, she pulled out a MAC lipstick. The other one, Charlotte Tilbury. I thought that was very interesting. But literally, I know I can't say always because that's a lot and I'm not always paying attention. But the nights that I feel like I'm weird, okay? I like to look around and I like to see what people are putting on their lips. And if I don't know, I will ask. I'll be like, what is that? Where'd you get that? What lip gloss is that? I'm just curious. I so often see a MAC lipstick being pulled out. Again, it's one of those brands I don't think is as popular online, but they have that core consumer base. But thinking about the online community, there was a time where like MAC lip swatching videos were super popular. I can remember getting the MAC and like Nicki Minaj collection and this huge collection of MAC lipsticks, and like, I mean, I was crying. I was like, I made it. Like, this is one of the biggest things ever. So excited about it. You know, MAC is such an interesting brand because they do collaborations with like Nicki Minaj, Mariah Carey. They've done with like Aaliyah, you know, the late Aaliyah, but then they've also done some collaborations with content creators as well, and I'm thinking like Sam Ravindal, and so that's been very interesting of how they stay on brand and relevant in social media, yet still continue to appeal to their long-term loyal fan base. So again, when it comes to beauty community and social media, I think MAC has kind of fallen a little bit, but it's one of those brands that I don't feel like is in danger of going anywhere. Moving back over to a few brands that I feel like are more like it brands right now, and that I think about a lot because I see them a lot in videos, is Merit Beauty. And what's funny to me is I don't have a lot from Merit, and I haven't really tried a ton from Merit, but I am wearing the signature lipstick today in Slip, and I really like this product. I've mentioned this recently in my top 3 in every category for the lip edition, and I talk about the signature lips and how I really enjoy them as kind of this more like balm. I think I put them under the balm category. I was just literally trying to put all my favorite lipsticks in that video, but I feel like I see a lot from them because Clean Beauty, I still feel like is kind of having its moment. I feel like it was a couple of years ago when Clean Beauty first started to really be thrown around, and that was, you know, they had like Sephora had like a whole section in the store like these are from Clean Beauty brands, and there's been a lot of, again, polarizing thoughts of what is Clean Beauty. Is it a gimmick? Is it a scam? Is it real? And all of that. But I am someone who, you know, I especially consume a lot of TikTok videos, and a lot of times I follow a lot of like lifestyle girlies, if you will. And it's interesting because they get hella sponsorships from beauty brands. Like I see more beauty content creators doing sponsorships with lifestyle brands. Like I'm speaking for myself. Like I have worked with like Ritual and Blue Land, companies like HelloFresh and Home Chef and that sort of thing. And then I see a lot of more lifestyle based creators doing beauty sponsorships because it seems to fit so organically into their content of like, hey guys, here's my morning routine, and oh, I'm gonna use my favorite cleanser, oh, I'm gonna use my favorite mascara today, I'm just gonna put on my lip balm real quick. And I was watching this creator on TikTok the other day, and she's giving like a life update. Like she's got a lot going on in her life right now, so she's like updating everyone while she's doing her makeup. And then she stops, she goes, oh, and I really love this concealer, it's so good, keeps on doing her makeup. And I was like, that seemed weird. And so like, and I don't think a lot of other people think it's weird. I think like because of my brain and because I am behind the scenes, I was like, that seemed odd. And so I clicked on like the more in her caption, and sure enough, she was sponsored by that brand. So I was like, oh, I see. And so, you know, it's so interesting to see even the way that sponsorships are working right now. But Merit, I feel like, is one that's pretty popular because it's kind of into that clean makeup, but also that like cool girl aesthetic, like the no makeup, very like fresh face, natural type of makeup. Like I see the Merit Beauty bronzer balm literally everywhere, and it's funny because I actually didn't like that product and I ended up decluttering it, but I see that one everywhere. And so again, I wouldn't necessarily say that I think that they're like a darling brand right now, but they're one that I'm like, I can see them like continually getting more and more talked about, especially because they've seemed to tap very effortlessly into this lifestyle kind of crossover space as well. One brand that I think has done a good job at staying relevant over the years is e.l.f. Cosmetics. Now, I do mostly talk about high-end makeup on my channel. When I first started, I was mostly drugstore. I've kind of dipped more into high-end. I don't do a lot of luxury, but I would say right now, like high-end is kind of not necessarily my niche because I don't feel like I have one besides talking your ear off. A lot of the brands that I'm mentioning in here are definitely more what I would consider high-end, but I had to mention e.l.f. because they are a player that I feel like was very popular because they had the $1 makeup brushes. That's what I was buying back in the, like literally my initial brush collection was the e.l.f. $1 that I could like get at Target. Then over the years, I feel like they have still been able to tap into that popularity, even though they have raised their prices, and sometimes I see people complaining about it, but like, I mean, all prices have raised over the last few years, and so e.l.f. had to do it as well. But I feel like they also started to have more of those products that were like dupe products, like their wands that came out that are very similar to like the Charlotte Tilbury light wands. So you know, all of a sudden I start to see a ton of those videos pop up in my feed of Charlotte versus Elf and that sort of thing. But also I feel like they've continued to put out good products at a decent price point. Like I personally love their primers. I don't even wear primer that much, but Elf, like yes, like I always be recommending those primers. And they've done some collaborations over the years as well. Like they did like their Chipotle collection. They've done like American Eagle. So they've done like some interesting collections that would kind of help with crossover as well and into more like mainstream media. They're also available at so many places. They're in Ulta Beauty, they're in Target, they're in Walmart. So they have there's a lot of accessibility with them, with consumers that are not just watching the beauty space. But I think that Elf has managed to do a really good job of like staying relevant in the social media times, even with the change in their pricing. I still think they're being talked about in a really positive manner. Speaking of Charlotte Tilbury, I wanted to mention her, and even though I do kind of consider Charlotte Tilbury like an OG brand, like videos for Charlotte Tilbury were very popular a few years ago. When new collections would come out. I mean, a few years ago, I did like a lip swatching video for Charlotte Tilbury lipsticks, and it was one of my first videos that hit over 100,000 views. And I remember it was like well past the time too. Like videos seem to do well as evergreen videos too, where they will just consistently get views over the months, over the years. They're not one of those videos that is on a palette that's really popular right now, so you get a lot of views right then. It's one of those that her videos can kind of stay popular, and best and worst of Charlotte Tilbury can stay popular, best of Charlotte Tilbury can stay popular. I think those videos do very well over time, especially on a platform like YouTube. But even though I consider her like she was popular in the past, I honestly think like she's having a resurgence right now, and I think a lot of that is due to the popularity of TikTok and a lot of people finding her products on TikTok and shouting from the rooftops of how much they love them. Because I know I can say for me, as someone who like, I've loved Charlotte Tilbury light wands for years, and I've loved her lip products for years, and then all of a sudden people are like, oh my gosh, wait, this Charlotte Tilbury beauty light wand is the best thing ever. I have to tell everybody about it. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it's already been being talked about for years. But again, it's a new generation. It's a new you know, it's a younger generation that is coming up and is being excited about it. To me, it's kind of like flipped in this one, because I feel like Charlotte Tilbury was really popular a few years ago. I feel like she is increasingly popular right now. It is very hard for me to watch a video and not seeing the beauty light wands being used, not seeing a bronzer being used, not seeing the freaking flawless finish airbrush powder being used. I mean, this was such a hit back in the day. It is still such a hit right now. Her lipsticks, I see people using lipsticks all the time. Again, with my friends the other night, it was actually at Ashley that pulled out a Charlotte Tilbury lipstick. I see Charlotte Tilbury so much, I see it mentioned so much, and I felt like I had to mention the brand. So for me too, I feel like a brand that I had to mention in this video was Lawless Beauty. I have been intrigued by the Lawless Beauty brand since they launched, and they launched with liquid lipsticks when liquid lipsticks were really at their like height of popularity as well. And I've just been intrigued by the brand because I feel like they come out with not a lot of releases all at once, or they just release like one eyeshadow palette and that's it, or a couple shades of this, or a blush over here. And it's one of those brands that I have my eye on as like on the rise. But for me personally, there's so much that I like from the brand, and it's one of those that I mentioned the Lawless products as dethroning products quite a bit. One product that I've mentioned is their powder, and I mean, my pan in this powder continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger. It dethroned my Dior Powder No Powder, which I loved for years and went through so many. Again, I just did the top 3 in every category lips edition, and I talk about their lip balms, I talk about their lip glosses are a favorite of mine. I just did a lip duo the other day with one of their glosses, and it's so beautiful. And I feel like they are definitely trending on the rise. I absolutely had to mention Lawless because they're so, like their brow pencil. I'm wearing their brow pencil today. Like, I've always loved the Benefit brows, and I've used Benefit brows for years and years and years. And now I'm like, Lawless, like this is the one that I am repurchasing. Of course, for my video and coming at it from my point of view, 1000% I had to mention Lawless in here. All right, so let's finish off with some brands that I don't think are as popular as they used to be. Had to mention Urban Decay. I mean, definitely there was a time where the Urban Decay palettes were so popular as well. I mean, the Urban Decay Naked palette, I felt like such an outcast for so long, even before starting YouTube, because all of my friends had the Urban Decay Naked palette and I was like, I don't have it. Like, we would go and have like girls' nights and everyone pulls out their Naked palette and I'm like, here's my little CoverGirl single shadow that I'm using. And I just felt like I wasn't part of the cool crowd. But Urban Decay to me is definitely one of those brands that has a loyal customer base as well. But I just don't feel like they like hit with social media as much these days. Again, I still have products that I enjoy from them. I love their Naked Reloaded palette, but I just don't feel like they got the same oomph. Also, Hourglass, I feel like Hourglass was a darling brand for a while. I really do. When they would release products, there was a lot of hype about them. There was a lot of talk about them. You know, they still are in Sephora. There's products that I've enjoyed from them over the years, especially like their veil powder, but then I feel like they kind of fell off, and I feel like part of their reasoning was they never did much to expand their shade range. And every time they would come out with a new collection, it was very obviously targeted at one, you know, skin tone. I was gonna say skin type, skin tone. And people started to get frustrated online. And, you know, one thing about what social media has done has been able to hold people or brands accountable. And I feel like people just got tired of every release being like, hey, there's other, you know, can you make other shades too? And Hourglass was like, nah. And people are like, okay, so like, I'm over it. So I feel like they just don't have that spotlight on them like they used to. And if they do have a spotlight on them, it's, to me, it's still a little bit more on the like negative, or like, what are you doing? Like, we want to support you, we want to be excited for you, but like, can you include everybody, or more people at least? A few other brands. I was thinking about Tarte in this video, because Tarte is definitely one of those brands that I put in with like the Too Faced, and even like I thought of like Lorac Cosmetics, and I feel like they really had their time. But Tarte, I feel like, is one that still does really well. I hear a lot of people talk about Tarte. I think their Trippin' with Tarte definitely helps. I think their last trip that they did, like the Trippin' with Tarte, raised a lot of brows because they went to Dubai. But again, they also took a lot of the younger TikTokers and who have those millions of followers. I feel like Tarte still gets a lot of talk on social media. Maybe not as much as they used to, but I still feel like they're doing something right to stay relevant. Would love to hear your thoughts on that, of course. But then I have a few, I wanted to end out this section with what I would consider more like social media brands. And I kind of touched on like the Morphe and the BH, but Dose of Colors, I feel like at one point I would have said this is like the on the rise darling brand. They were extremely popular. They were doing collaborations with extremely popular content creators. I love Sarah E, Desi and Katie. I was, you know, buying all of the collaborations. I was doing the videos. Their liquid lips like really took off. I was hitting pan in their 5-pan monochromatic palettes. And I feel this is a brand that I talked about in my Dead Beauty Brands video as well, but I don't really know what happened. And again, I speak on that video of like, do you really have to continually put out new in order to stay relevant online? And I feel like they just don't release as much. It feels like they kind of took a hiatus there for a moment in time and then just never really got back to it. So I wanted to mention Dose of Colors for sure, but then also Colourpop. And I feel like this one might be a polarizing one, but to me, I don't see Colourpop being as hyped, or I don't know if I want to say is like coveted, because again, back in the day, like I was dropping everything to make those collection videos, to make those videos on the palettes, to make those videos on the lip products. They were one that again really got a lot into influencer marketing, and they were collaborating with a lot of influencers. They've also done a lot of collaborations with more like micro influencers also, and they've done like their favorites bundles and things like that. A lot of people have Colourpop codes. I have a Colourpop code. But I feel like it's one of those brands that just releases too much that nothing, that it feels harder to come by something special from Colourpop now. On one hand, it's like, great, they have so many products, so there's so much to choose from, or some, like literally probably anybody can find something from Colourpop that they will be excited about because they have so much. But I feel like at the same time, they have so much that it makes the brand feel less special. It makes, like when There are times where I go to my mailbox and I have 5 PR packages from Colourpop. And it's like, instead of dropping everything and making videos on that new collection, it's like, well, you just came out with 5 all at one time. Like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to make a video on? Like, I'm confused. And so I feel like, in my opinion, even though they're still relevant, they're still killing it on social media, they're still, you know, pumping out their collections and their new releases all of the time. And it's one of those brands too that, like, it's funny because they come out with so much. And I did a video on my best and worst eyeshadow palettes from 2022. And then I took that video and I broke it down into short form. So I think there's like 5 or 6 videos that I have on YouTube, and I start from the bottom, and these are my, you know, 10 palettes that I disliked the most. And then at the top is like, here are my top 10 palettes, and then everything's in between. The worst of 2022 and the best of 22 has a lot of views. And I get a lot of comments on my worst of videos saying, you just don't like Colourpop. This just sounds you don't like Colourpop. It sounds like you have something against Colourpop, because I have multiple Colourpop videos, Colourpop palettes in that video. And I say back in all the comments, like, well, you should probably watch my best of video as well, because I have top ranked Colourpop palettes, but it's because they release so much. Instead of just having 4 palettes that they've come out with throughout the year, you know, I'm ranking 80 palettes total and 60 of them are from Colourpop. You know, that's an exaggeration, but so of course there's gonna be plenty at the bottom. So of course, if you just click on that video, it's gonna look like I hate Colourpop, yet I have their palettes in the top video as well. Curious to get your thoughts, of course. But we have also seen, to finish out like the top brands as well, I can't imagine how long this video is, literally. We've also seen a rise, you know, in celebrity makeup brands, and I think about Fenty Beauty. Fenty Beauty made a huge splash. Now, Fenty is one, though, that I feel like when they first came out, also, don't take a drink every time I say I feel like, because I feel like I have said that a lot. But I feel like when Fenty first launched, it was such a huge splash with their inclusive shade range. Anna being the creator of the brand and the face of the brand. Again, I feel like over the years it hasn't, like, the hype has kind of dropped a little bit. I don't know if it's maybe it's not as many products coming out or what it might be. But when Fenty was first coming out, I mean, you couldn't go anywhere without people talking about Fenty. I don't feel like I see them mentioned as much in videos anymore. There are a lot of celebrity brands that continue to come out, and some that I think do a better job at staying on top of the game. And that's gonna lead me to the last brand, and the brand to me that I think is like the it brand, like the darling brand. It's Rare Beauty. Like, it had to be Rare Beauty. I talk about Rare Beauty so much on my channel. I'm wearing Rare Beauty right now, and it's funny to me, I am gonna do a best and worst of Rare Beauty. I've been seeing this requested quite a bit. When Rare Beauty first launched and I went out and bought some of their products, I didn't like a lot of them. I didn't like the matte liquid blush, the matte liquid blush. I didn't so much like the lip product, and I just thought, and the thing was, is I didn't think the products were bad. I just didn't like them for my personal makeup style preference and all of that. And I was like, I think literally the thumbnail or the title of that video was like, this brand is just not for me. Not in a bad way, it's not my particular makeup style preferences and all of that. Of course, that was their first launch, and then they've continued to come out with so many more products, and I would continue to try them because you know, curious, keep an open mind, all of that. And then it was like, oh, okay. Then I tried their more like satin finish liquid blush, and I was like, wait, this product is really nice. I still don't love everything from them. Like their eyeshadow palette that came out, like, not really a fan, but their mascara, listen, when that mascara came out, I was talking to everybody about this. I've gone through like 8 or 9 of that's literally right in front of me, 8 or 9 of the mascaras. I think that these are great. The lip products, I just mentioned the lip liner and the lipstick in my top 3 in every lip category. They just released new brow pencil and these shadow sticks. Freaking love these. And I see Rare Beauty being talked about a lot. I see Rare Beauty being used a lot. I see the lip products a lot. I see the mascara a lot. I see the blushes freaking everywhere. And this is Selena Gomez's brand. I feel like a lot of people love Selena Gomez. And it's so interesting to me that I'm now on Rare Beauty's PR, which is like very exciting to me. I did an unboxing video where she sent the personalized earrings. They're these beautiful silver drop earrings, and she sent them, when she sent them out in PR packages, they were customized to the influencers' names. So mine says S and M. And in the photo, you know, you can see hers, the S and the G, and like so beautiful and sparkly. That video, it's a short on YouTube, has over 1 million views. That was my first video ever to get anywhere near something like 1 million views, and the comments in there, Rare Beauty does things so well, Selena Gomez does things so well, Rare Beauty is such a good brand, I love Selena Gomez so much. Like, the love for Selena Gomez, I feel like has definitely transferred over to her brand, but at the same time, the brand releases good products. Like, I don't love everything from them. There's hit or miss releases for me personally. There's some products that people love from the brand that I don't love, and vice versa, but they consistently seem to put out good products. They don't really have like a bad launch. I think they do marketing really well. I think Selena Gomez does a good job of being balanced between being the celebrity like face of the brand and then also not being too much. Like, it's not like too like pushy in that sort of sense. And she still comes online as herself. She does a lot of TikToks as well, and just like being herself, and I feel like that really translates over to Rare Beauty. So for me personally, I had to give the It brand, and a brand that has dethroned a lot of these like old school brands that I loved, it's Rare Beauty. So that's the end of this very chatty video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Maybe you were doing some cleaning or getting ready while you were listening to this video. I hope you had fun with it, and I really, really want to get your comments on brands dethroned and like who are the new brands or on the rise brands, and what brands you think are on their way out. So leave those in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next one.